Hello, everybody. Welcome to Evolution Now. This is the 7th volume of our podcast featuring James J. Wolfe and myself, Damien Chinappi. Hope everybody is well. JJ, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. We're recording this on a Friday, and I got a lot done this week, so I'm feeling like I'm going to have a good weekend.
Very, very good. So, this podcast, we always kick them off with the six-pack of the mind. It's something that gets our listeners to feel mentally sharp, physically ready, and just prepared to take on the day and whatever challenges come their way. So this week, the six-pack of the mind is a cold water challenge. And the challenge isn't just to take a cold shower or do a cold plunge. It's to get into the cold water and allow yourself to break through the discomfort. Meaning, anytime you do a cold water challenge, there's a point where your body gets acclimated to the water, your breath will settle, and your mind will slow down. And when you break through that threshold and get to that place, it's different. Everything slows down. You get this lucidity and this crystal clarity that you're able to use for your day and your week moving forward. So the challenge is, get in a cold shower. I don't know if there's a cold enough body of water seeing that summer. But get in cold water, observe your mind, and break through the need to escape. Settle into it, into the breath, into the thought process, and experience the lucidity you get when you get into cold water. And that is this week's challenge.
I love that, this cold water challenge. There's so many health benefits that come from immersing oneself in cold water, whether it's finishing a shower cold, taking a shower cold from the get-go, or jumping in, an icy cold plunge. I was actually at the Atlantic Ocean south of Boston last weekend. I think it was the 17th of June, and it was actually a miserably cold day. It was probably 60 degrees and rainy and drizzly, and it was just windy and raw. And it's been the coldest June I've experienced in Massachusetts, being from this state.
It really has.
Yeah.
It really has been a couple of 80-degree days, but mainly like in the 60s and overcast. But yeah. You jumped in the ocean?
Yeah, I was with my dad, who's 84. And he hadn't been to the beach in a while, in a couple of years, I think. He's been living in central New Hampshire, and he just ripped his socks off and just started walking towards the ocean. And I vlogged it. I got some video clips I'm going to post at some point about the story of that day. But basically, I was like, oh, God, my dad's running away. I got to go catch him. He's running to the water's edge. I mean, he's 84, he's walking, not running. But anyway, long story short, I took my shoes off with him and waded in for a moment. And then I said, I think I'm going to jump in. And he said, really? Because I like showing him up, not necessarily just showing him up, but it's like egging him on, but in a way that's like, I'm your son and I'm going to show you how badass I am, that even though it's a chilly day, I'm going to jump in. Anyway, yeah, I jumped in. And so
did he follow you?
No, he didn't jump in the water. He's pretty old, but yeah. No, he was impressed though that I did. I jumped in and I ran 100 feet out into the ocean because it's pretty slow incline, gradual incline into the ocean there. But
so you're well acclimated with cold water and you did the thing. So hell yes, that's awesome. So podcast number 7. Today we're going to be discussing some of the professional elements of building a brand. This Evolution Now podcast. Things we're going to cover. We're going to talk about the aesthetics, our background, what we wear, the logo, talking about clarifying and refining our message for what this form is used for, and just practical steps we're going to take to build the brand, and then round it off by giving each other tasks so that we can follow through the week. And on Evolution Now 8, we can report on what we achieved, the obstacles we encountered and how we overcame them, and move forward the brand.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I love that. It sounds great. Yeah, there are so many pieces that go into the creation of it, and I love that clip that I found last week that said only 10% of podcasts make it past episode 3, and of that 10%, only 10% make it past episode 20. So by making 21 episodes, you are in the top percentile of podcasts ever recorded in history. And so seeing as we're at number 7, I think we've made a lot of progress already. We've had some hurdles. I had some unexpected travel. You've been busy. Life happens, but we keep at it, and we get messy and we get better and we see what happens. So, from that caveat, I often think about, just the basics of setting up the shot, but I like to have some kind of clean background. I like to have as much light as possible, not too much shadow on the wall or harsh light on my face. So I've actually this reading lamp that's been in my friend's house here where I'm at is I have on my face, and I've got some track lighting pointing at me just to fill the room a little bit. I've got these wired headphones this is a microphone that we're currently talking to into the Zoom conference that we're recording on. Also recording external audio on my iPhone microphone in front of me, which is a little bit cleaner than this mic. And because this mic is being sent in through the Zoom software, it gets modified. So you're also recording the iPhone audio as well?
Right.
Awesome.
And
cool.
Headphones, computer, video camera. So I guess my question is, how do we make our thing look more professional? Because some of the podcasts I've been looking, they're done in the studio. Obviously, that's impossible for us. But in terms of making I think what we're doing now is acceptable. Mm-hmm. But how do we make it look better? Your lighting's on point, your sound's on point. Should we try to both incorporate something in the background? Like, obviously, I put evolution now on my whiteboard. Do I try to use the whiteboard?
To be completely honest, from what I've experienced with my development of projects, right now we're calling it evolution now. I think we're going to stick with that. But say we try to develop an LLC or we try to register some intellectual property when we get to episode 25, we may decide that we rebrand or if we want to sell it or repackage it. So I love that it's there now. I think it's relevant to this episode, but I would have a clean background until we're way farther
solidified.
Yeah. And also because I know I'm in a lot of different places, that's why I try to go with whatever the most neutral background is, because it's you have no idea where I am. It just looks simple.
Yeah.
Right? And there's some cool art here. These are pocket doors that go into a guest room that I'm staying in. But this background looks pretty clean. I like that you've got some books there and you got a whiteboard. You look like a smart guy. You've got your head centered on the wall. You got a balanced shot. Looks fine. And at the end of the day, some of the podcasts are, better shot and some of them are less better shot. But it's about how much proliferation and how much publishing you do, because somebody might shoot their podcast really well, make one episode, put it on YouTube, and then do nothing else. Somebody might shoot their podcast with their Dell webcam, but then cut it up into 30 sound bites and put it on 8 different platforms and then include it in a newsletter, and then you know what I mean. So it's about proliferation and publishing of the content.
Very well said. So we can say aesthetically, our backgrounds are acceptable for where we're at currently.
Yeah.
And until we solidify what this thing is actually going to be, there's really no need to invest a lot of energy in upping the product value.
Yeah, and again, simple is great. I think I've lucked out with these white doors, this beige wall, and this little corner of the art. For me, this is the easiest shot I could set up in here. And just for fun, I'm going to break the third wall here. I'm in a fucking living room apartment. There's a kitchen over there. It's pretty busy.
Is that like vines?
There's a couple potted plants hanging down over there.
That could have been cool.
It's cool, but it's busy. Oh
yeah.
This is simple. So there's nothing in the background to really distract you from being able to focus on me and what I'm saying and my face and what I look like, and even the background colors are contrasting pretty well with my body. So if I wanted to try to cut it out later, it could be done. Anyway, I say all that. What I was going to say, though, is Amazon sells a product. I mean, you can get the product anywhere, but there's have you seen the reflectors for photography that you twist it and it pops out and it's like a metal circle with it's like green or white a bounce board?
I have.
So they have one of those it's a green screen circle with like a band on the back of it, so you can actually slide it on your chair. And then you're just on a green screen. Then you just use a virtual background. That could be something you might look into. They're like $20.
To be honest, I have one. I have one that's blue and green. It doesn't clip onto the chair, but I use it for auditions. And a green screen's screen right at the end of the day.
Well, check it out.
I'm not a big fan of how projecting things on behind, because I know people in my company I work with that do that, and it makes the head look weird, and I much prefer something that's real. That's just my preference.
Right.
Oh wow, that's actually pretty nice.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've the computers are adapting rapidly, and so if you're decently lit and you have a very simple background, or you actually have one of those blue or green backgrounds, you can set virtual backgrounds into Zoom. Look at me. I don't even know where I am.
Yeah.
This is actually my favorite one over here.
Where did you get that in Zoom? Where is that
this
feature
one?
in Zoom?
And actually, check this out. So here's the original photo. Hold on.
Where is that feature
Give me a
in Zoom,
second. Pay attention. This is the original photo that I got, and then I put a slight blur on it in Photoshop. So you go up to preferences, you go to Zoom, I'm on Mac, you're on Windows. You go to your Zoom preferences, and then there should be a background and effects tab. And then you go down to backgrounds. It's pretty straightforward. This is one of the stock ones. The beach is actually live. It's kind of cool.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then here's another office space, and then here it is with blur.
I'll have to look into that.
But see, for me, this office, the yellow, this color doesn't contrast that well.
It's like
this is kind of cool.
Ketchup.
This is just the blur
I don't
effect.
like that. That looks like
it looks stupid. It's too much
something
blur.
not like dirty about it, like you're hiding something. That's cool.
I like the cafe personally.
Cafe's dope.
Hey, can I get a latte? Although I will say, I'm getting ghosting here. You're seeing it's not catching. See that?
That's kind of trippy.
If I take this off, there we go.
Oh yeah,
it's doing better. But again, it's also that it's not good at filling. That's called a hole on the green screen chroma key effect.
I will look into that background after this, but that's cool.
Yeah, and
cool.
You can open up a Zoom call. You can open up a free Zoom call and just go in your own meeting with nobody present and mess around.
100%.
You do look a little dark. Like right now, if I see your shirt is kind of blending into your door there.
Yeah, it is.
There's not enough contrast between those tones. And your shirt is a wonderful color, so if there was more light on your... Yeah, that looks a little better.
There you go. A little better. Okay, cool. I think we got aesthetics covered. We can jump into... I think logo will be more secondary because that's where you talked about aesthetics.
I would say Evolution Now, one of the things I had thought of is like the Bigfoot silhouette with either like a lightning bolt or a light bulb. What did I send you? The Bigfoot with a light bulb?
It was I think it was just a Bigfoot, and you're like, hey, lightning bolt. I don't know if the lightning bolt's in it, but I like that idea because that's kind of like, lightning, like the aha. I mean, obviously the light bulb is the aha moment, but I like the lightning bolt because it's almost like a creative storm striking.
Yeah. So
I think in terms of like a color scheme, you want to keep it pretty basic, black, white.
Yeah, I like black and white. I mean, honestly, black, white, red, and blue. I mean, as much turmoil as there is in this country and the world and political sphere right now, God bless America. I am so glad that I was born in America and that I'm an American. And right now, it's pretty obvious that there is some meddling going on that's undermining the American culture, and we need to keep our culture strong and keep people focused on being their best selves and stay great and be great, and so I do like, you're wearing a blue shirt, I'm wearing a red shirt, I got a white background. I mean, I like white, red, blue, black, but our primary colors, I mean, for me, like if you think, like for instance, think of Nike. What's the color of Nike?
I mean, the swoosh is usually just black.
Exactly. But the swoosh, right? Doesn't matter what color it is. The swoosh. 100%. And same with Adidas or Adidas if you're American. The Europeans say Adidas.
So you say Adidas. You just said God bless America. You're American. You pronounce it like a European. What kind of backdoor treason are we talking about here? No,
well, America's a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was in the foothills in the Himalayas.
Yeah, I think staying black, keeping it pretty standard. Again, just something that to me, what's important is it feels solid. It just feels solid. We're not trying to beat too many things.
Yeah, I mean, a solid color, not a gradient. We could pick a color. Red is the most thought-provoking, attention-grabbing. What I was saying about the Swish and about the Adidas logo and the Apple logo as well, Adidas, sorry, is that the silhouette of a logo is the iconography, like the gravity of the logo is related to how well its silhouette is recognized. If you feel
okay, then I buy that.
Yeah, like I like a strong logo. You could cut out of a piece of wood or a piece of metal. Some people will come up with a photo. They'll be like, "Here's a picture, and this is my logo," and it's like that's not a logo. That's an image. It's a different thing.
Right. That's a good distinction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Bigfoot walking, I think that is identifiable enough. And then just again doing a little deeper dive. Let's see if I have a picture.
Yeah, I think the Bigfoot with the logo, with the lightning bolt cut out. Yeah, and if you think about it, I mean, I try to take influence from some of the most successful people, like such as the Joe Rogan podcast, and he's got the monkey, yeah.
See, but we would just replace the footprint with the lightning bolts.
I think I just grabbed it off Google. I mean, that's cool. That's the big.
But that profile is cool.
Yeah, that profile with the lightning bolt in the middle, or it could be a foot with a lightning bolt. If we like that foot outline, but the Bigfoot could be cool. But we'll make some iterations, and I think it's important to make iterations and just kind of have some fun with it as we're developing the logo.
Bigfoot stepping on a light bulb.
Sure. Yeah. I think we should just make some iterations. I definitely feel like the lightning bolt is a really strong, simple, standout symbol, and so is the Bigfoot. I also like the Bigfoot as the idea of the missing link in evolution, but also as kind of because it's so like Bigfoot is obvious. I personally, my contention is that Bigfoot doesn't exist. I think Bigfoot was a hoax. We'll have to get into it. I do think that there are different hominids and monkeys, and I think the evolution of the hominid is something that can be discussed a lot further than what we have as far as like the ancient monkey Lucy and the Cro-Magnon and all of the different types of apes that evolved into the Homo sapiens sapien, which is what we are.
Yeah.
But that being said, I like that Bigfoot is humorous. I think that because I like to poke holes in people's like just half-baked arguments and I like to be a skeptic, and so by using that as our logo, I think it actually subtly speaks to the fact that we're not afraid to tackle the things that are like controversial.
Like that. And I like the idea of the thunderbolt because thunderbolts come from storms, and anytime you're evolving, you're going through a metamorphosis, and that's the chaos of the unknown. That's a storm. So that combined with what you just said is great. Also gives me an idea. A good buddy of mine goes squatching. Like he goes out in the woods with his military buddies, and they have seen some shit. So that could be an interesting guest at some point. But I like that. So we'll say by this time next week, is it acceptable for you to shoot over a few images to me, and maybe I can try to make some sketches or something, and we can kind of come to a little closer, the closer final image that we're going to roll with? Is that okay?
That sounds great.
So let's say like three new images, and then I'll kind of make sketches too, and we'll just kind of mind meld that way.
Sure, mind meld.
Very cool.
With some sketches.
Yeah, so our logo will be a little bit more fleshed out by this time next week.
Absolutely. We're evolving now.
Love it.
We're evolving now.
So we covered aesthetics, background. We just went over logo. Clear message. Now, I like what we're doing right now today because we're making progress and that we're going to have stuff to do throughout the week. And then when we come back next week, we'll be able to talk about, like I said, like the challenges, the overcomes, just the overall process. And we get to explain it. So the message of what we're doing is basically like make a little bit of progress, not perfection. Get messy, get better. But I think the clear message of what we're doing is do something or try something.
Yeah. I mean, it relates to another brand that I'm developing, which is called Action Mindset, but it's the idea of doing it now. It's, evolution doesn't happen in the future. Learning doesn't happen in the future. Creativity doesn't happen, nothing happens in the future. There is no future. The future is an intellectual concept. We exist in the present moment. And so if we're going to make incremental evolution in our lives as we pursue personal development, it has to happen in the now. So that's why we're discussing tools and tactics for evolving in the present moment, and also bringing in the mindfulness component of the present moment, which is the now.
And playing off that, the six-pack of the mind they're all things that keep you in the present. So you develop your relationship to the present. So when things get crazy, you're not present, and if you're able to ground yourself and become present, you tap into your power. So I love what you said, incremental evolution. And it's, again, like you are training yourself to be more present so that you can be more powerful.
Yes, because all energy comes from the present moment. Being able to respond to the moment. And that's why exercise is so effective for helping people to be more present and also to have more cognitive power, because we, in this society, we're so in our heads. They say like the Eastern is like the body, and the meditation, cool-headed, and a hot fire in the belly is what they talk about in the Far East. And here we tend to be hot-headed and the capitalistic and let's go. But when we exercise, we activate our body, and when we activate our body, we are in the moment. You can't be outside of the moment when you're in your body, because your body is in this moment. Your head can be in the past, your mind can be in the future, but your body is always and will forever be here now.
Can you elaborate on that saying that you just said, that Eastern saying, which I think is amazing? Cool in the head, fire in the belly.
Yeah, I used to use it as like a little phrase. I have a lot of these little gem phrases I like to say, but sun belly, moon mind is when I came up with sun belly, moon mind. But it's just a general concept, which is that in the Far East, they're aware that, if you think about like traditional Chinese medicine, or, even wasabi with your sushi, I don't want to be insulting, but it's the idea that you should have a fire in your belly. A strong digestion is having a fire in your belly. Having conviction with who you are and what you're doing in this world is having a fire in your gut. You have strong conviction and clarity in what you're doing, fire in the belly, and you're cool-headed. You're not reactive. You're not, angry and full of this desire to antagonize others or get in fights. You're cool-headed. This is why you train an overactive young boy. You give him karate lessons, and he learns the tools to, keep himself from being too hot-headed. But anyway, sun belly, moon mind is what I like to use as that phrase.
That's phenomenal. And again, that comes back to something we talked about last week. Carl Jung's quote, his life is found in the play of opposites, cool and hot, which is awesome. I mean, think about fire too. It's a process. It's present. It's this combustion. And we as humans think of ourselves as ideas, but we really are too also a process like a fire. And then having the cool awareness to observe that fire allows you to stoke that fire, right? And then, with the play of opposites, what's that? That's balance. So if you can maintain that balance, you can use that fire to burn off the useless of you and rise to the next level. But if you're out of balance, you're going to burn out. So that's cool. I love that saying. Cool mind, fire in your belly.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, dude. That is a little gem right there.
Those little shifts, man. Yeah, sun belly, moon mind. And so, yeah, is there anything else on your outline there? I love that we're driving through this outline.
Yeah, I just think the big one really is the clear message of, and I think that could be a great message actually. Cool mind, fire in your belly. Be present, be getting after something, but have the awareness to know how to keep yourself balanced.
Yeah. Have the presence, know how to keep yourself balanced. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the biggest message I truly believe is about that being present and being somebody that's personally accountable, personal accountability. The difference between people that are unsuccessful and successful, from everything that I've seen in the world and from my own personal experience, is the ability to say that whatever is happening to me is my fault. You know, if I woke up at 8:15, it's not because my date went long. It's not because I went to bed too late because I got stuck on the phone with my cousin. It's not because the pizza gave me indigestion. It's because I chose to do whatever it is that's causing me to wake up at 8:15 instead of 6:30, which is my personal ideal rise time. Or whatever the example may be. What's the example that you can come up with where somebody would say, I can't do it because this happened, or, it's, an excuse where people aren't taking personal accountability?
All right, let's say that I'll default into nutrition and health, fitness, whatever. Let's say that you're on a nutrition plan. You're 3-4 weeks into it. Your friends say, hey, let's go out for the weekend, get a couple drinks, go get a meal. You go, okay, cool, I'll do that. I budgeted my calories. You go out. And that you cave and go, okay, I'll just get whatever. My nutritional goals, they go out the window the second I go into a social setting. And then you go, well, hey, it's not my fault. My friends invited me out. I was in a social setting. I didn't want to be rude. It's like, no. You need to have conviction in isolation, but also when you join the group. If you have a goal and you still want to have a balance in your life, you need a social life, but you can still have that social life and maintain the standards and the goals you have by being disciplined. So no one's going to make you eat. There's always a good and a less good option when you go out to eat, and if it's just not and honestly, sometimes saying no to going out with friends is one of the best things you can do if you're really in a season of your life where you're focused on something big.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, some of the greatest icons in the world, like, Will Smith or, who's
just
another one?
Just took a smack with that name, huh?
Say again?
I said you were just smacking out names.
Smacking out, yeah, just taking a smack with hey, ba-doom. Yeah, no, or Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's some stars that I've heard them say like, oh yeah, I didn't have a social engagement for 10 years, because they were so focused, like the Matt Damon and Leonardo DiCaprio types, like, like they'll have like a social outing a month at the most, if they're really in their prime, focused on a big project, like some huge projects take 3, 6, 9, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years of focus to make these great things happen. Well, for instance, I was just at South Station in Boston. I haven't been there in a few years, and I didn't realize that they're building a tower over South Station right now. It's called South Station Tower. You can look it up on their website. It's really cool, southstationtower.com. But basically, they're building a 680-foot high-rise, 51 stories building that's basically going to come. South Station, that old school facade in the front, it's right next to the Fed Reserve. They're going to have this huge tower coming out of the top of it. It's going to be a metropolitan center that's connected with the bus station. Highways are going to kind of connect up into it to the garage. It's right there connected with all the transit system. But at the end of the day...
Is it going to be condos? Is it going to be condos?
It's going to be, yeah. Offices, apartments. There's going to be some hotels in there. But the reason I mention that is because it's a 4-year project. Mm-hmm. From start to finish, they're working on that one for 4 full years. It's not like, hey, this week I'm going to get this done. It's like 4 years. And they actually conceived the project in like 2004 or something. 20 years later it's happening,
Big vision takes big commitment.
Yeah, it takes big, yeah. Remind me how we got onto this tangent, just about time and, we were talking about
choices and personal responsibility.
Oh, yeah,
and
personal
being
responsibility
committed.
and choices and commitment. And yeah, I mean, when it comes back to the food thing, it's like people say, oh, well, I had to have a drink because my friends were out drinking. But at the end of the day, nobody else is putting
a gun to your head.
That
no
pizza in your mouth
or
that beer up to your lips. It's your hand feeding you. Right, so it is a choice, and the thing is, and that's why it comes down. It's sacrifice and courage, because when you get to the bar with your friends, if you did agree to go out, and then someone's saying, "Hey, what do you want to drink?" and you say, "Oh, I'll just take a soda water with cranberry." They say, I think nowadays people would probably give you less flack because of all this pride stuff. But
back in the day, what are you, a pussy? Get him a jack straight up.
Yeah, I've been trying to integrate other words that are less politically charged, such as wimp and coward. These words that have the definition of the word is less associated with femininity or whatever it is that people are like, oh, you're being insulting. Well, no, there is cowardice. If your brother is in a burning building, someone who is not coward will run into the fire and get their brother out of the burning building. Someone who is a wimp or a coward is going to say, I'm scared, and not do it. And that's the difference between rising to our potential to be courageous, powerful men and women in this world, and to not be at our fullest potential, is to be able to overcome our fears. I like to say that courage is being afraid and doing it anyway.
Yeah, 100%. Otherwise, if you're not afraid, it's just confidence. But I'll go on the opposite side of the tracks and going, like, people are too sensitive about language. I like calling somebody pussy. It doesn't mean that I'm devaluing women or denigrating women. It's just it's a word meant to, it's slapstick, and it's like maybe it's not the word that it's so bad. It's the weak opinion of, oh my God. Like, no doubt, words can empower, they can cut people down. But if you work on your toughness, if you practice your toughness, and you go, okay, I'm going to let that. It's almost like, you remember the circle game where you underneath your waist circle, if you looked, your buddy would punch you, or you'd have to hit a doorknob.
Sure, like in Waiting, that movie.
Yeah. It's just like, okay, if you didn't react, or 2 for flinching. If you flinched, they hit you twice. Yeah. But if you didn't flinch, you didn't get hit. It's like, don't flinch, don't balk. Like, have the presence of mind to be That's like, oh, word. You said balk. That. Don't balk. Be resolute. And like, oh, you're not going to drink, pussy. It's like, rather than be like, oh my God, you hate women, you're a misogynist. It's like, no. Maybe you're overreacting.
There's wild association going on, and we have a lack of critical thinking. This is bringing me back to something that came up in previous episodes, which is the idea that our episodes could be around a word or a selection of words. But like, we could have an episode that's about the word pussy. We could have an episode that's about the word courage. And just to bring in some nuanced humor and deep dive into some analysis around the word pussy, one way to look at the word pussy is that actually pussy is one of the strongest things in the world. I mean, the pussy takes a beating. When a woman is making love and receiving love from a male lover, and she's asking for more often, when it's consensual, and the intercourse is happening, the pussy is taking a pounding. And that's how it's designed. And also,
it's elastic. It can stretch.
I mean, we've all come out of that's our portal into life itself.
100%.
And then also to invert it, because within everything is contained as opposite. When the pussy is also very soft. It's a very soft, thing, like a flower. And so to call somebody a pussy, if your brother's in the burning building, and there's somebody else standing by watching you not run into the building, you're being a pussy. You're being soft and gentle when you need 100%. To rise to a challenge and be hard. You got
to go in there and just be a dick. That's a good point, though. And again, like, it's based on how reactive are you. Oh my God, this word! You prop this word up on a pedestal, or you just go, it's just a word, whatever.
Well, it's designed that way. I mean, have you actually read 1984?
Yeah.
Yeah, I read it in 2020, and it's part of some of the agendas that are going on in the world is to mess people up around their understanding of the words.
Oh God, yeah. Make us reactive and yeah. But again, like that stoic individual is usually gonna stand their ground, because it's not even about reacting. It's just choosing a response that serves you, that keeps you present. You're practicing. That's the thing. I truly believe that thought is a practice. You're practicing the way you can respond versus you're getting into the way you can react. Just like if somebody calls you a pussy at the bar because you're not drinking. Do you engage? And then if you engage when someone calls you a pussy for not drinking, you're agreeing to that reality. If you just respond by going, if you dismiss them, you're not in that reality. So what they're saying is it's not real. And your response to that of a non-response makes it just like you're talking to yourself. I'm like, you never engage. You dismiss it with your eyes and look away. But people don't want to do that. They want to, I captured it on my phone. You said this, did that. And then they get lost in conflicts and they try to win conflicts versus trying to win what they're trying to do with their life. You know,
exactly.
You know, you're really dialed into something. You know, someone could spill water on you, or you need to get someplace at a certain time. Someone cuts you off, or they spill water on you, or whatever. You're not worried about that. You're like, I need to get to this place by 3 p.m. I have 15 minutes. I don't have a second to waste on anything that's not the mission.
Yeah, and from a point of self-discipline and scheduling, that's one of the things that I try to refer to is schedule your own personal time as rigidly as you would adhere to a doctor's appointment. You know, for instance, if I tell myself that, you know, I'm studying an online course and it's self-directed and I'm going to do it from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday every week. You know, it's not, oh, it's optional or I'm going to sleep in because it's just an online course. It's that personal agreement and personal accountability and commitment to the same level of tenacity that one has as if it's a doctor's appointment, you know. Just to circle this back, brother, you know, I like that this episode is included this kind of behind the scenes developmental angle where we're discussing the creation and the development of this podcast. I've been aiming for us to record at a minimum of 30 minutes as a case study at each episode that we've recorded, the previous 6, this being the 7th. A lot of the podcasts I've watched are a minimum of an hour up to an hour and a half. I have a client that I've been editing his podcast, and they're usually about 75 to 90 minutes. Joe Rogan's podcasts are usually a minimum of 2 hours up to 3.5 or so, with a few outliers being even longer than that. I definitely think having the outline, having a bullet point that we've discussed in the past is a great thing. I would love... my schedule can be a little bit all over the place depending on which days I'm traveling for different shoots and different projects. It would be great if we could lock in a day. We had Wednesdays. Maybe we could shift back to Wednesday. We could attempt to do that next week. And then the other thing developmentally is having a review session. You know, and maybe we do it every other week. Like maybe 1 week I do the review and take notes. And then the next week you do the review and take notes. Or we could have a separate call where we actually watch it live together and discuss it and analyze our presence. We could do that for a few, and then, you know, that's where we can develop it. Because the thing, you know, if we were really to talk about why we're doing this, you know, I want to create a platform to share people's voices. I want to practice being more articulate and being able to handle these, you know, to create beautiful dialogue and to listen to your points. Hold on to a few things I want to respond to until you're done sharing the point and then respond. You know, this is something that people practice when they're, you know, doing like, you know, advanced placement or debate club or these kinds of things that I think a lot of people do in university where they're doing these, you know, structured intellectual debates and being trained in this type of conversing and analytical argumentative discussion. But the thing I'm most excited about is the practicing of public speaking, of doing something that is live, that does matter, that will be seen again, that is recorded. This is a live performance, if you will. We're speaking live and recording it with each other. And then also, not only to publish the long form pieces, but then to go back through it and find gems of anywhere from 10 to 30 to 45 seconds where each of us is sharing a clear message of a unique or original or well articulated quote or a little, you know, monologue, and to grab those monologues and use them to proliferate our personal brands as we develop our works in our lives. So
yeah, I just like the building. This one felt like the best podcast where we got stuff done, and then through our process we kind of divulged into some good material. Like the, you know, cool mind, fire in your belly, which I think is super great. And I wrote it down. It's something I'm gonna pour some thought into. But through that, we found some really cool avenues, a little bit of humor, and just cool life experiences, and integrated it. I think that's super useful. So I think wrapping this up, because we're right around the 40-minute mark, I think the goal for the week would be 3 images. You know, you send to me, and I'll do a couple of sketches, and let's try to solidify this logo. So, you know, Wednesday this week upcoming, we go boom, and maybe that can go into the intro.
I love it. That'd be great. Yeah, we can also create an intro sequence, as editing is my strong suit, so I can get some stock footage or some clips of you, clips of me, do some cutout fancy tricks, make it look awesome, pick some music, stuff like that. And actually, yeah, and then, maybe we're getting closer to going live with this than we think. And just to follow up, part of the review thing is so that we can actually link the episodes and reflect on what we had said last week, because I think it's easy to forget some of those things. I did do a small delayed fast. So I finished my last meal around 6 p.m. and then I didn't eat until 12 p.m. the next day, it's that 18 hours.
Wait, you're talking right now?
No, I did this on Wednesday, but last week we talked about the I don't know if it was the 6-pack for the mind or whatever it was. But yeah, so
productive?
I did.
Were you productive?
I was extra productive and I had extra clarity that day for sure. And so doing intermittent fasting or a delayed fast, a delayed meal into the day is a really cool strategy. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that in this podcast.
Ooh, and I think that that would be a good thing to pick up on the following, where it's like, hey, we do the intro, we talk about the 6-pack of the mind the last week, what we did, and then bring in the new 6-pack of the mind. Because I did a delayed fast, I think it was Monday, and I put the idea of eating out of my mind till 4 o'clock, and I was just fully into the workflow, and it's great. But fantastic that it worked for you, and thank you for doing that.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Well, Damien, it's been a pleasure to have another session with you of Evolution Now. I'm so excited for where this is going. I'm JJ Wolf, and thank you guys for watching.
Thanks, guys. Number 7 in the books.
All righty. See you next time.